All right, got to cut that short. We got a jam-packed show today. Busy show. Don't want to bury the lead on a very important guest, but I got to hit a couple things off the top. Three things. Obviously, we did not do the stream for Playoff Best Ball last night with Pete. Something came up. That's been rescheduled to this evening, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Second thing off the hop, Mitten 4 just dropped. Shout out to Underdog, giving the people what they want. You get one contest in the gauntlet that's a 1 out of 6 advance. You get another one that's a 2 out of 6. You get $35K up top. It's beautiful structure, beautiful for the ecosystem. And point number 3, Ja Morant swaps last night. We've talked a lot about swaps and how to leverage them in our advantage. And sometimes you just get a situation like this where it doesn't work in our favor, and we got to clarify how we can deal with it in the future. So for those who don't know, Ja Morant last night was ruled out at what would have been 7:11 p.m. Eastern, something like that. And tip, according to NBA app, according to the stuff on your phone, will be at 4:10. But for whatever reason, the swap window occurs prior to that game starting than after. And we got some clarification from the Underdog side that those start times are not hard start times. Those are just projected start times from the NBA. So then what occurs is the swaps occur if that tip actually occurs at like 7:12 or 7:13 or 7 whatever. So how we're going to have to deal with this in the future is immediately when the draft window closes, set your swaps preemptively, just in case someone like Ja's out, because that really hurt last night because I didn't do that and I was waiting on the news, and then I get a whole bunch of Schroeder instead of getting Tyus Jones, and Tyus Jones would have been the difference you needed, that extra 20 points kind of thing. So imperfect system, obviously, we've talked about this in the past, but we're learning from these situations, from the John Bates situation, from the Teddy Bridgewater situation, from this situation, and it happened once before this season with Jalen Brunson as well. So I don't want to take any more time on that because I want to talk baseball. I do not want to leave our guests waiting any longer. But if you got more questions on that, we'll talk about it in the Discord. We'll talk about it in the comments below. But very special guest today, straight from Underdog. I think his title is head of MLB info, but you'll catch all his writing on his own Substack, Too Much Tuma, or Brendan Tuma Substack, or you'll catch it on Underdog Network. Very special guest joining us for the MLB streets. Brendan, what's up, man?
Guys, thanks for having me. I've obviously been familiar, with all your work now for a little bit. When I first got to Underdog, I just started doing some Google searches for who's doing MLB content or any content around our MLB games. And you guys are, were one of the only people at the time to pop up. And I thought that was really cool. So it's been fun connecting a little bit more on Twitter. And it's just like really cool to see like the passion you guys have for these baseball games, because one, I think we all agree here that baseball's awesome and baseball's fun. And two, the game's really beatable right now. And you guys have been at the forefront of a lot of those edges.
Love it. Yeah, no, appreciate the shout. Man, we just love baseball. Like, we're baseball guys through and through, and the fact that it just like couples with best ball is just so beautiful. And I think it's a great way to play baseball, because like it's less of that day-to-day grind. It's less of that, hey, who do I have to know in the back end of so-and-so's bullpen that might get saves in the future? And then I got to put my fab bids down and blah, blah, blah. We can just shelf all that. We can talk about the players organically. We can project to the future, and then we can set it and forget it and just watch and enjoy. So for my money, this has become my favorite way to play baseball.
I totally know what you mean about having too many managed leagues in season. I feel like every year trying to cut down more and more teams like that so I can really focus on all of them, or else, Sunday night comes and you're setting waiver bids, for 2 hours sort of thing. So baseball is obviously great for that reason, for both baseball and football. And I think for baseball too, you guys obviously do this, it's a part of your life throughout the entire summer. It's obviously on every day. And because of that, there's other ways to get action. Like you can draft your best balls in the off season, and then during the season you can do in-season nightly drafts. There's pick'em slips. It's it's a lot to do.
It's it's the best time of year, man. That's where like all of my a good portion of my volume comes in on Underdog is doing those every day, waking up in the morning, checking the line, checking the projected starters, like hitting my ranks. Like it's just like a ritual. And it's like you said, it's literally like a part of my day to day, even before I was doing this now full time. Like that was my part-time job at my full-time job.
I love it. Let's just dive right in. I think the majority of people watching this right now, the majority of people drafting right now are sickos. We're deep in the weeds already, right? And one thing that you wrote up originally, one thing that we've talked about for the last season and a half now is the scarcity or perceived scarcity at the outfield position. Do you think that is the case this year?
Yes, I think this is kind of been when we were talking about coming on the show and like what to talk about and everything. To me, this contest has been up now for a couple of weeks. It came live at the end of December. And to me, the story so far has been the outfielders in round one, especially getting bumped up and how scarce that is. And this is something that last year, I don't think this was as known of a thing throughout most of draft season. So anyone who had identified this had a really big edge that because Underdog combines infield all into one position, it's easy to think, okay, well, there's 3 outfielders. There's usually a lot of fantasy relevant outfielders. Like that's going to balance out. When you start doing projections and looking at it, that's not the case at all. I ran Underdog scoring through Steamer, and of the top 100 hitters it spit out, 65 of them were infielders and only 35 were outfielders. So that just goes to show a little bit of a disparity between the two.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think the counter to like this whole strategy and stuff like that is, does it get to a point where it becomes so common knowledge, so commonplace that everybody's doing it, that it becomes advantageous for us to zig when everybody else is zagging? Or are we not even at that level yet?
Yeah, well, I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about that. So I can't, play in any drafts that are live right now. Just having working for Underdog, they do set up employee-only drafts for us for all these contests that are fun to do.
But the baseball take 3 weeks to fill.
Yeah.
Yeah, just begging everybody in the group chat. Come on, guys. We just need 6 more. It's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks. We just need 6 more.
Yeah, it's like that's good.
I'm curious. I've looked at ADP and 8 of the first 9 hitters or draft picks overall are outfielders. So I'm curious if you guys get that pick 10, 11, 12 right now. I think is really tough because outfield starts to dry up a little bit if everyone took them early, but then Jose Ramirez and Trey Turner are sitting right there with huge projected point totals. So I want to hear from you guys what you're seeing in drafts.
Yeah, if I just to take it off the top, I think that it makes sense, right? That outfield is being pushed up because of the disparity that we outlined. And not only that, late in the drafts, there's still viable outfielders or infielders that don't even get drafted. I will say on the outfield front, though, I think we have a bit of a disparity in ADP for some of these guys. Like, yes, these guys should be going early, but should like Brandon Nimmo, who's kind of fell a little bit, be going, what is this, like 20 picks ahead of like a Marte or Chris Bryant or like Teoscar, not 20 picks, but like 15 picks, just some of these gaps between guys I think are not as large as ADP really makes it seem. And I think that's part of why I like these drafts, is because you can reach, so to speak. And it's not necessarily a bad move. We don't have to be so glued to ADP as most people are with NFL, where it's like ADP is gospel and you got to take the value where you get it. It's not necessarily the case in these drafts. Numi, you've done I think more drafts than I have. Where are you at on outfield in these?
So I mean, if you just look at my top outfielders, I have that little tiny dead zone gap that we were talking about, which if you scroll down, it's the Bryant, Stanton, even now, again, my love and your love, Nez, for Mitch Haniger. So I've been like going to that, but I did so many drafts early and ADP wasn't settled so like Jordan was going like at 14, 15, like he was out of the first round. So like before it kind of settled into this for like the last week, there was a good, Chris Bryant and Stanton were going in the hundreds or near the hundreds at one point. So like I took advantage of that and kind of just felt where I thought people were going to continue to move up. And I mean, I'm still taking them because I think that they're better picks there, because truly when you get down to the end of drafts, round 15 through 20, you're literally looking at green and purple. That's all that's on the screen.
Yeah.
There's no outfielders there. There's no one that makes you go, yeah, that's a fun click. Like, there's a lot of infielders that are getting everyday roles that are still going to put up counting stats. And yeah, so I've been going.
And there's Alberto Mondesi there. I mean,
yeah, your boy. Hey, I've been actually drafting a lot of him recently. So that's
oh
fun.
my goodness.
Yeah, he's stacking up with my Vinny P stacks. But anyway, like I've been going outfield heavy. I have been doing that. I just felt it's the way the draft boards shake out, and the way I think the better value is later in drafts is pitcher and infield. And it's just like, let me get my big boppers that don't care. I mean, I totally love Stanton. Don't care about Ks. All we do care about is home runs. Like if they're hitting the ball out of the park, like, just fine with me. So I've just been, trying to load up, get about 4 or 5 outfielders, honestly, before round 10. That seems to be my ultimate kind of like goal. I don't know about you, Nez, about that, or John, but yeah, that's how I've been playing it so far.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack there. You guys said a lot of words. Let's dial it back a little bit for half a second here. Because you guys both harp on home runs and stuff like that. Tuma, just from an overall like standpoint with Underdog versus like traditional roto leagues versus Dynasty and stuff, are you seeing what we're seeing in terms of like isolating the fact that we want home run hitters and we want pitchers with Ks and wins? Like, those are kind of the 3 things that we've isolated as our targets. Do you see similarly or no?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think one of the toughest, so we talked about this a lot with our MLB games coming up. Should we make them more, roto based or 5x5 fantasy baseball based, incorporating batting average and stolen bases and all that stuff? And we ultimately decided not to. One, we just think points is an easier barrier to entry for a lot of people. But 2, we had this same contest, basically the scoring, the structure of it last year. And we wanted to give, the community a chance to have a second year to go back and kind of evaluate what happened the year before and what's going to happen this year coming up. So I think that's exactly what we saw is power for hitters, the other idea of like points for infielders and outfielders. They all get points. So you don't need to be as balanced as possible. And then for pitchers, I remember last year, looking at some of those older guys, because I think a lot of people think you want a young upside starting pitcher in there. So, what if this, round 16 pitcher puts it all together? The thing about like those young guys, they never go 6 innings. And if Underdog scoring quality starts are such a huge part of it, that some of the, like a Charlie Morton type, we know the Braves are going to let him go deep as long as he's effective. Adam Wainwright is, a lot older. He's not a sexy pick, but they let him pitch innings. And that's such a huge part of the scoring for pitching.
Yeah, I think we isolated that as well last year. I think I went a little too far with that analogy as well. And I started doing it with ABs as well. And I think that was a mistake for me last year, is I was settling for like back end, like everyday players who weren't that good, but had projectable ABs. Like I had a lot of like guys like Adam Frazier and like stuff like this, where it was just like floor plays in like the 18th round that I think I messed up on in that regard. But I do really like what you're saying with the pitching thing. Is like I think it's fine from a hitter standpoint to take some shots on those like sexy young names as potential breakouts. But with the pitching side, I do think this innings eating, these veteran guys hold a lot more value, because so many of these young pitchers, especially on non-contending teams, either shut down or won't pitch 5 innings late in the season, or like that sort of thing. Anything to add there, boys?
No, I think that's the quality start and the win is an excellent thing to focus on. I mentioned before that I heard it was actually on Rates and Barrels that like the top 20 pitchers in just like wins came from like but it was like 18 of them just the best teams in baseball. I mean, Braves, Yankees. So like to your point of the Charlie Morton types, like I love going for guys that have a track record of being able getting that leash, and that are going in this like around the like 90 to 140 range, there's a lot of pitchers there that people seem to be afraid of. And I'm like, I'll eat it up and I'll take these early bats early and then just take these pitchers that are going to get the leash, are most likely going to get a chance to get the quality start and the win and play for good teams. So that's going to benefit them too and getting it. So
I think that makes a ton of sense. And the situation we want to avoid is being forced to draft any pitchers or maybe even players on the Pirates.
Now I'm gonna have to demand the floor on this one because I along with the two Pirates starters that I really like in Keller and Ronzi, and I can even add a third one in Luis Ortiz. I think there's just do you know ball? I don't think so. There's a lot of pitchers in general that go undrafted that have like as good of floors as pitchers that go in like rounds like 15 and 16. And it's to me, it's hard to not like continue to mix these guys up. And by doing so, just like going like anchor pitcher and taking like two really strong studs who have like the high K rates mixed with like the innings pitched, with these plethora of guys that go deep, like in the Tyler Anderson range, the Jose Quintana, like these veterans that just signed deals, like big time money deals, and are pitching on good teams, have the potential to pitch a ton of innings. Like it's insane how deep pitching in infield is to an extent. Pitching especially is just crazy deep.
Yeah. I mean, the pitchers right after that 200 ADP. I mean, I love them there. I mean, it's just there's a lot of good names there that are, like you said, got contracts. We know their track record of getting wins and quality starts. Yeah, very deep. I agree.
So I think, sorry, just to jump in on what you were talking about pitching there. I think that might be, we came on here today and said like, so far outfield scarcity has been the story. I'm kind of looking at a few things and trying to work on a piece about pitchers. I just, every few days I pull up ADP to see, what's going on. I'm on Twitter, obviously seeing the conversations being had, but I think the next storyline that we see after this outfield thing has settled a bit is some of those aces being moved up even. I looked last night and the SP12. So if, everyone drafts one pitcher is going at the end of the fourth round. So you can comfortably wait until the end of the fourth round right now, possibly beginning of the fifth round, to get your first pitcher and be fine with it.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And for me, like a name like Brendan Woodruff as my first pitcher after I've loaded up 3 outfielders or 2 outfielders and an infielder, it's just like, oh my God, feed me that build over and over again.
Yep.
All preseason long, or all pre-spring training long. I think we've kind of like we're bouncing all over the place because we're excited. We talk about all this stuff. I think I want to talk overall roster construction, but that one thing just popped to my mind, Tuma, that I have to ask about, that we've talked a little bit about, but we don't actually know anything other than he throws 96 miles per hour and has a splitter. I want to talk about the 2 Japanese wild cards in the middle of these drafts who have seemingly get pushed up to that 100 ADP mark right now. Do you have a read on either of these 2 as prospects? Do you agree with their ADPs? Are they guys we should be targeting? What are you looking at here?
All right, so that's funny. I thought you were first going to ask about their projection being 0, which I can explain that.
That's true too. Yeah.
Quickly as well, because that could definitely be messing with ADP. Who knows, one way or the other. But no, we switched to a projection system through a third party that helps us, provide stats and everything. So we're not even in charge of those projections anymore. Obviously, for Senga and Yoshida, it's just an error that they need to be adjusted. Probably had something to do with them coming over from NPB, but those will be fixed. But yeah, no, I think that these projections were switched a few days ago or like a week ago, something like that.
Yep.
And I think that's going to add to like further, discrepancies in ADP and a lot of big changes. But anyways, about these 2 guys, I'm definitely more familiar with Yoshida just being a Red Sox fan. And we, by all reports, overpaid for him a little bit, but Chaim Bloom's got his model and he loves that model so much, and the model said to overpay, so he overpaid. But I think Yoshida makes sense in Underdog. Again, I'm not going to pretend like I went over to Japan and scouted him myself or anything, but by all reports, he's an OBP guy. He's someone who's not going to strike out a lot. The Red Sox have already talked about having him hit leadoff. So when the draft first opened, I sent a tweet about it. I got to look up what that ADP was, but he was just someone who I do buy into that theory. I know you were poo-pooing like the playing time thing a little bit, and maybe it does go too far with an Adam Frazier type. But I mean, if Yoshida's going to lead off every day for the Red Sox, he's outfield eligible, obviously. So he plays a scarce position. So he's like the type of outfielder I think I'd be looking at late. I'd want someone who's at least going to get volume.
Like it. Yeah. It's interesting to see his name beside someone like Verdugo because they do kind of seem to check the same-ish boxes. Same with like Andrew Benintendi, something like that is kind of like my mental comps right now. I don't know if I'm like so far off base with those, but just throwing them out there as similar ADP range targets with what I thought was similar profiles. Is that anywhere close?
So sorry, I just looked up the tweet, and when I sent it at the end of December, he was going 145th overall, and now he's up to like 112. So
yeah, so
maybe that's
spots.
Like some of those outfielders you're talking about are rising a lot.
Yeah.
Can I pause real quick? Just real quick. Correa is finalizing a deal with the Twins. That is
what is going on here, man?
You're joking right now. You're joking.
Man, they're the only ones who trust his bill of health or something? No, that's perfect. No, that's not derailing. It's crazy, man. That one doesn't really like. I can't fathom
6 years, 200 million. Holy crap! This is the biggest free agent we've ever had. I am giddy. Let's go.
Well, it's interesting because
wow.
If the Giants can sign Conforto and Haniger and they can pass their physicals, how does Carlos Correa fail a physical with them? Like, what are these teams finding?
And the Mets.
Seeing? Yeah. And I mean, the Mets are renowned with their worst medical staff with the way they treat pitching, right? Like,
it's pending physical. So, like,
still, we got to go. Come on. How many times are we going to go through this? Like we can't do this much longer. He has to final.
All right, we'll get off that. We don't have to talk about the Minnesota Twins.
Well,
let's the Pirates.
Brendan, do you have a immediate reaction to that?
Sorry, no, I was just catching up quickly on Twitter to make sure what I'm seeing and everything. No, that's obviously crazy. Good for the Twins. That's a big move for them. I think that's really fun. I'm just like digesting it all. I have a lot of Mets fans in my life, so I'm gonna need to be needling some group chats after.
Throw out some thoughts and prayers to
those poor Mets fans. Can't they just like catch a break this off season, right? Jeez.
Yeah.
6 and 7 years.
Okay, let's
wow.
Let's shelf that for a bit. Let's reel it in here. While we're on the Japanese thing, I had one more question for you. Brendan, what do you think about splitting Ohtani into two players? I don't think you can keep him given the scoring format here as one player. Like, he would just be the 1-0-1 every single time and outscore everybody by 1,500 points, and it wouldn't make sense. But do you think there is merit to including him in the player pool as a split designation next year?
Yeah, definitely. So this is something that's on my mind all the time. Just about like in fantasy in general, how to make Ohtani more fun. It's right now we're just limited with like our stats provider and stuff that I don't even personally understand myself about how, we get all the scoring and how that all works. But all I can say is that like it's definitely something that if we have the ability to add him in the future as both a hitter and a pitcher, like two separate players, that 100%, that's I think the way I want to do it.
Yeah, I think the fantasy community in general would agree with you given like the scoring format. I think if the scoring format or something like that changed in the future, then maybe not. But yeah, let's talk one more macro level thing and then let's get into some player takes and talk about that sort of thing. Your favorite roster constructions in this format. Do we think we know more than we actually know right now? Because last year we saw a lot of us gravitate towards 8-6-6. I'm not sure that was right. I don't know. It feels safe. It feels like kind of what you should be doing. Now all of a sudden this year there's been some pushback. A lot of us are doing, builds based on where we allocate talent. So we could go with like an early pitcher build and we build like some 5-7s, that sort of thing. Where do you come out on this?
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually I put in a request to get all the data from the 2022 season about what builds had the most success and things like
Sweet.
that. So be making some content around that, and then we'll eventually release the whole data set publicly, just like we did last year.
Love it.
But I do think, and again, so this is just, I don't have like the exact information to like back this up right now, but I do think that we should be willing to go a little more unorthodox in the sense of, you heard this in football, if you go anchor RB or hero RB, that you might not want to allocate as many roster spots to running backs later in the draft. And that's how I kind of feel about outfield right now, in the sense of, if you draft Aaron Judge, you have to figure that every single week he's going to be one of your outfield scorers. And sure, maybe he'll have a couple down weeks here or there, but like, you're like, someone you draft in the 18th round is very unlikely to matter if you have Aaron Judge,
Right.
as for one of your outfield spots. So I do think outfield is a spot where if you get, two awesome outfielders early, maybe only, draft 4 or 5 of them, and then make up for that with infield depth sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. You guys tend to agree there?
Yeah, I've been talking with baseball, and we keep circling back because I keep sending them the builds that I keep pushing the limits of drafting fewer and fewer pitchers, and I haven't gone to 4 yet, but I've done quite a bit of 5. I totally get it, but I've been kind of hovering around 6. And his big thing that he keeps telling me that I keep thinking as well is like, he's confident that fewer pitchers is optimal. And he's just like, when he keeps giving me that, so I keep trying to do a new build. And he goes, yeah. So he's like, why not just push this and see if it's a bigger edge than we think? Because we don't quite know it. And it's like, if you can get that lineup to hit and those guys stay healthy and you can push that through, and those guys are pitching and you have them in the finals, and then you have all of these batters that you've allocated to, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's just it's an interesting route. And I've been doing a lot of kind of contrarian, slower or smaller pitcher builds, and doing quite a bit of 5 in different ways too. I know it's just trying to see. I know we're so early, but I think the optimal way to do it is take a couple early, maybe most of them early, and then get one of them in the middle, and then kind of stay out at 5 or 6. And I've done a few where I've taken some from that later range and then just stayed at 6, and then haven't taken an ace and still have big bops, and just hope you're catching a pitcher that next year is in the 60 to 50 ADP range.
Yeah. And not to be too results oriented either, but last year, the winner of the Dinger, which is the $25 entry best ball contest, he only drafted 6 pitchers, and one of them was John Means. So he won the finals with 5 active starting pitchers. So not just something to note. I mean, if you've with only starting 3 pitchers, I think it does make a lot of sense to allocate more to these bats to try to just bully the flex position versus your opponents.
Sorry, if I could hop in on that for a sec. Like, I wonder if, so much of trying to get that absolute ceiling outcome for, like you said, like to be in the finals and win the finals, is either way, you're going to need, aces to stay healthy sort of thing. I'm not that optimistic about pitchers in the late rounds in Underdog right now. It's, again, something I'm working on and just thinking through over the last few days and trying to write up if it makes sense or not. But like, I think like if I play in a season-long managed league, I actually used Luis Ortiz as an example the other day, where he's someone who in a managed league, I'm going to draft him with my last pick every time. And if it doesn't work out in the first 2 starts, I'm going to drop him. But in Underdog, we don't have that option to drop someone if it doesn't work out. We also don't have the option to pick up an early season, waiver wire darling. Like Spencer Strider was on 0 Underdog teams last year because no one ever would have drafted him. Wow. And he mattered a lot in season-long managed leagues, obviously, because we could pick him up. So for those reasons, I almost wonder if taking 4 or 5 starters, reasonably early and just kind of banking on trying to make that build over and over and find the build where 4 of them stay healthy all season long is a case to be made for like a ceiling outcome.
Wow. Yeah, I like that. I think you hit on one there without the waiver ads, without the pickups and stuff like that, with those back end starters just being so much thinner. Like we learned that lesson last year with Matt Brash, right? Like you get all this hype come spring training. You get all this, oh, he's going to be in the rotation. Oh, he's going to be, and then it's all of a sudden you see like, oh, he's got the stuff metrics that Eno was putting out about his slider, and it's like, oh my God, he's gonna break the slate for us. And then he pitches 80 innings or whatever, and then gets used out of the bullpen and gets sent down twice, and he matters not. I'd like to pivot that one more other way is we've been talking a little bit about like Kershaw or maybe Lance McCullers in the past or stuff like this. I've used the comp to like Rich Hill, where they'll give you elite innings when they're out there, but only pitching 120, 130 innings on this site doesn't really matter for us, is kind of like where I've kind of been at. What do you think about something like that, Tuma? Like where with these kind of elite middle tier guys, but we can't really project them for 180, 200 innings.
So I think another thing, and I think part of the reason for this might be like, so you have those rankings up and that's ADP right now for drafts, and you see that projection total and it's a season long projection. And I think what ends up happening is we start thinking almost too much in terms of what this player is going to be for the entire season for a point total, that you can lose sight of the fact underdog scoring is a weekly game. And for that reason, I think there's merit to, if Clayton Kershaw, he's going to miss 3 weeks at some point, but the games he's out there, he's going to give me a high point total. I think that's fine. But I also think that's a lot different than like a Bryce Harper situation, where he's going to miss half the season off the top. I think Kershaw is someone who I'm definitely willing to draft, and you just hope that the time he misses isn't in September.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting, because that's something that I thought of last year was when I basically just took the BATX and would just look at the last round targets. I'm getting a lot of guys like Tommy Pham and just a lot of veteran guys who are just getting volume ABs. We look at guys. I'm going to use O'Neal Cruz as someone that Nez said he's drafting. A lot of people are like, what is he going to do for the year and all this stuff. I'm starting to think if he's your eighth, if you're taking a guy like O'Neal Cruz in the 20th or 19th, and they're your eighth or seventh person in that position, you don't need them to be anything in the beginning of the year or even the middle of the year. It's the end of the year of having that unique piece that no one else is going to have, hopefully. And then him actually mattering on a team that is, if you think about teams that are out, they're going to bring up guys they're going to be playing, and it has that prospect pedigree. So stuff like that, where you're taking guys and you're mentally going, well, how much is he going to matter? Is this a wasted pick? But then we get to the point where the playoffs are only 2 weeks. Like it's a 2 week, 3 round. It is 2 weeks, 1 round, 2 weeks, 1 round. So it's like the whole season doesn't matter once you get to the playoffs. So that's something I've been trying to battle and wondering what you think about that, of drafting these guys that you would just normally think, in this format, not so much, but they could matter come August and September.
This is what I think is really cool about, MLB Best Ball and Underdog right now. We've been talking about outfield scarcity, different types of builds, stacking, all that stuff. There's still so much to figure out and explore, because I think that in football, we talk so much about week 17, like the entire offseason narrative was about what do you need in week 17. And baseball is a different game for a lot of reasons. So it's not an exact match, but I am starting to think more about is there a way to build a lineup that's going to matter the most in September? And does that mean you need aces early because they're more likely to be healthy? Does it mean, like you said, you need a young player who's hopefully peaking by that time? So I think there's like a lot more to be explored just with strategy of this game. Why I love you guys' passion, because we're still at like the very beginning of figuring this out. Yeah,
exactly. And on that same note, are there any rookies that you have your eyes on, and either pitchers or infield or outfielders that you're pretty high on?
Oh yeah. So I haven't had a chance myself yet to be fully diving into like exact players and ADP and stuff. I don't know if you guys have been the same way or not, but I've been focusing so much on like those macro level trends and the big picture stuff of outfield early, infielders late. But the most fun part to do is just to talk about players, right? And say who's going to break out, who's going to underperform. So I'm really chalky with both of them, but I'm really buying both Gunnar Henderson and Corbin Carroll. They're both going to be 2 Rookie of the Year favorites, but I think they make sense for Underdog because we saw them last year, that we know that they're going to have time. Whereas this time last year, we didn't know that Julio Rodriguez was going to be starting in the majors type thing. And so I don't know, like some of these other prospects, like an Ellie De La Cruz. Like I'm not even
Yeah.
sure if he's being drafted. So I think for me, again, like I'm all about a little bit more floor in the mid to later rounds of hitters. So I think Carroll and Gunnar, just knowing that they're going to play is a really big thing.
And
Yeah,
Gunner's been slowly falling. Like he was at that like 80 range for ADP to start, and he's been just slowly. I mean, every slow draft, when you get to that mid 90s, 100, you're faced with Gunnar Henderson. I haven't been taking him. If Vinny P's been there, he's been my guy in that range, along with Crone. But I'll have to start working him in now because I get too gunned to these player takes, and next thing you'll know, I'll be 100 drafts in the bullpen, and all my slows will load up, and I'll be like, "Wow, look at that exposure!" So
yeah, it is going to be interesting once Cardi releases the bat, because so many people in these streets use the bat as a resource. So it's going to like really cause dramatic shifts in ADP once that's released, either with like mid-tier guys like flipping of outfielders or infielders, or just like boosting up guys that right now aren't being drafted. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm going on like roster resource right now and like just looking through teams, seeing who like I'm maybe like overrating as a guy, or underrating as like guys that can provide us with floors, specifically in outfield. One of the guys that like I'm kind of drawn to right now, and I'm not expecting you to have like a take because like I mean on this guy, but like Kerry Carpenter for like the Detroit Tigers, like looking at like that team with ABs available, and just like an interesting team there with like a lot of like young talent that hasn't really been healthy. Any takes at all about Kerry Carpenter? Because like I'm like trying to convince myself that he's worthy of like a 20th round pick.
Yeah, so I think that brings up a good point of uniqueness, something we were talking about like a little bit before. And I'm sorry if I'm miscrediting this to someone else, but I think it might be Johnner who's always saying like scroll down in drafts. And I think that's really great advice. I think a lot of people, I get a lot of questions, if you can imagine. Just like people doing their first draft on Underdog, like, oh, hey, like what's the, just general strategy type thing. And I think a really great piece of advice is, I think what most people would do is just, so they're in their 20th round pick, they're just going to take one of the top players there. But if someone, let's say it is Kerry Carpenter, does have a, really great season and you had to scroll down to get him and he ends up not being that rostered at all, and then he has a big week in one of the playoff week, like that's how you get that uniqueness to make like a meaningful impact in the playoffs.
Yeah, I could do like a whole show about like late round guys that I think could have like round 20 impacts. Like it's just,
don't worry, you'll have your chance. You'll have your chance.
I know. It's just
the funny thing about this. The funny thing, yeah, Mr. Good Boy was being not such a good boy, but I think he's all right now. He just threw up out of nowhere. It's kind of weird. Yeah, so I just let him outside and let him rip for a second there. Yeah, but it was nice to come back to a little John Flattery there about the scroll left down. Let's go. I was like, it kind of put the headphones back in. I'm like, oh yes, tell me more. Oh man. I sorry, obviously I missed where we were at there. I heard Nez sneak his Kerry Carpenter. We're just hype in there. But,
talking about like late round going off the board in your late round picks and taking guys that and not focusing on guys that will matter with the mindset of what is he going to do for the whole season, of breaking it down into and then Brandon had a good point of like, we don't think about week 17 or the final week in MLB best ball really, whereas that's one of the only talks in that. So we're talking about these guys like an Onel Cruz I use that you find later that all of a sudden not that roster can help a team in the final barely owned type of dude. So yeah, that's what.
Yeah, love it. I got that. Actually, did you guys talk about the week 17 narrative at all there? Like, Brendan, do you think we should be optimizing for that final week? Do you think we should be looking at schedule, looking for who's at Coors, looking for that sort of stuff?
I'm going to do this as an article at some point. I haven't looked into it yet exactly, but I do want to at least think about it. I want to spend some time thinking about, is there a way? Because I'm not even positive there's, unless, it's core, like the Rockies play,
it's Cubs at Coors. It's Cubs at Coors, right?
I haven't looked yet, but unless it's something like that, where it's like an insane amount of Rockies home games, I'm just not sure what the move would be if it's again, like I recommended here, like, would it be drafting a ton of aces who can handle volume that they'll still be pitching in September? Because that's, we talked about Luis Ortiz as maybe he's peaking late, but maybe he starts the season in the rotation and he has an innings limit on him by the end of the year. Like, I love Shane McClanahan. Like, that was like my guy last year, but we saw he was a younger pitcher and he started having some arm trouble late in the year. And so yeah. So I guess my point is that I'm not sure there's going to be a way to optimize for it, but I'm still going to think about it and take a look at the schedule and everything.
Yeah, I like that. The one thing that we've talked about too is trying to find 2-start pitchers late in the season and that sort of thing to optimize for that week. And I'm not sure it's even fathomable to predict a rotation that far down along the line, right? I mean, the only way to do so would be to gravitate towards big name anchor aces who will no limit, no whatever on contending teams deep in the season, who also have the most games available in that final week. So it'd be like such a niche little pocket of but then what do we do with that? Like, if we find out the Brewers have more games than the Braves do in the final week, what does that matter? Does that just mean we put Woodruff and Strider's ADP flip one spot? Like, are we even getting an edge with something like that? But yeah, a lot of fun stuff to talk through there for sure. Can we hit on some player take stuff? Can we the people's love the player takes, some of that sort of thing. We led with Julio as the poster boy here. We're dubbing it finding this year's Julio and finding this year's Nestor Cortez. Two of those off the radar guys, maybe not off the radar, but weren't being drafted anywhere near what their ceiling outcome potential was. Are there any fun names that come to mind for you, like later down, that could be, break the mold guys?
Jesus. So the next Julio, I have a breakout pick for the middle rounds. I don't know if that's deep enough for you.
Let's go with it.
All right. So this one, I compared a little more to McClanahan, but it's Christian Javier on the Astros. I think we saw down the stretch, he started the season pitching out of the bullpen even. And I think that they needed to see a little more. You guys mentioned, Saris's, his pitching model for pitching plus, stuff plus, and all that. And I love that you mentioned that, because I'm looking at that all the time as well. And Javier was really popping earlier in the season. And then when he started getting more volume down the stretch, I mean, the raw strikeout totals just shot up. So he's someone, again, I compare him to McClanahan in the sense of he's a little bit of a mid-round pick who could elevate himself into being, one of the top starting pitchers. And within the season-long managed community over at the NFBC, he's gaining like a lot of steam. And when I took a quick look at Underdog ADP, he was someone who it just felt like there was a disconnect in the sense of what I'm seeing his height become and how late, surprising to me, he was being drafted here.
Yeah, that's a good point to cross-reference the NFBC ADPs with this. I would caution people, like the caveat obviously being positional scarcity and positional eligibility and stuff. So it's way harder to do with hitters, but cross-referencing it with pitchers makes a lot of sense to me. So that's a really good nugget you throw out there to note the discrepancy between Javier's ADP here and Javier's there, because those are very sharp, high stakes leagues that people are drafting, right? Sorry, I was just looking for that as well. Okay, what about the hitter side, Tuma? What do you think as a one-off name there? Maybe not rookie breakout Julio level. I don't think this year's rookie class is necessarily anywhere in that same spectrum as we saw last year. But what's a big name kind of, I don't know, breakout kind of guy?
Oh, definitely. So I'm just pulling up a list here. So we talked a little bit about Corbin Carroll before. I'm curious. I don't think it's going to end up having that big of an impact in a points-based scoring like Underdog as it will in like Roto. But I don't know. Have you guys talked much about like rule changes, especially the stolen base stuff?
Very briefly.
Yeah,
because
briefly,
I'm not.
Yeah.
Stolen base, they're worth 4 points on Underdog. I wish they were a little bit more, because I just think it would be a way to make that matter. Again, we just wanted to roll back the same scoring format. Maybe that's something we'll change next year. But I do think there's a world where these new changes result in some really high stolen base totals that we haven't gotten used to seeing since the days of Jacoby Ellsbury and Jose Reyes and stuff like that. So, but if Corbin Carroll, again, he fits Underdog because he's probably going to lead off. He's good, has good on base skills. I think if he ends up, he's one of the fastest players in baseball. I think if he ends up sealing 60 bases, that'd just be, again, a much bigger deal for roto leagues. But again, someone like Javier, I was surprised to see the ADP that he's not this hype darling, especially, again, he's outfield eligible.
Yeah, I like that. One thing we noted with Arizona was maybe potential playing time concerns if anyone slumps early in the year, because they do have a lot of platoon options just in general. I'll pull it up right now. Guys, do you have any thoughts on Corbin Carroll or Javier there?
I wasn't so aware of Carroll's speed. So I think that definitely has like untapped upside that I don't think projection systems are really like accounting for. And I think they're being cautious about projecting speed guys for a lot of steals because we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And we don't know exactly how this rule change is going to affect the way that the game is played. But I think if you want to get bullish and be aggressive and say that guys that have like, the range of outcomes, the tail outcomes of 60 steals, like you said, you can really take advantage of that. Yep. And, and maybe Jose Ramirez should actually be like a top 5 pick. Maybe he should be going like right behind Vlad Guerrero as opposed to having outfielders being taken before him, because he's a 40-40, maybe not 40-40, but 40 steals candidate. Like,
yeah, both him and
that's why I'm on
fit that.
That's why I'm on Bobby Witt so much. I think the same thing you said. I don't think projections and people are maybe accounting for his steals upside and what he can actually
fastest in the league.
And then obviously, if I didn't have this and he wasn't a twin, I still probably would take it simply because of the upside that the dude on a plate appearance on this site like shows. And if you want to talk about steals, I think he has an ability to get some. So Buxton is my highest exposed player and probably won't change.
Love it.
But I mean, you want to just feed me a little like sanity here. Is it too much? Like he's shooting up boards. Like just give me the Buxton reel, just 30 seconds. Like obviously, if it's simple as just stay healthy, I get that. I know that risk. I'm just hoping he gives me 120. That's realistic for games.
I think it's becoming a rite of passage for everyone in like the fantasy industry to at some point have a season where they're touting Buxton, and if he stays healthy, he's going to have that huge season, and they're just hoping it's the one. And so far, no one's been able to crack the code. I was there last year. I had a 40-1 Buxton MVP ticket because I look at he's
started
evolved
off
as a hitter to have more power, and the thing of what I liked about him as an MVP candidate is that his defense is so insane that if he stayed healthy and kept those offensive gains, he would have had like a 10 WAR season, and Fangraphs and everyone would have been going nuts about that, like just the pure WAR total. So that's what appealed to me about him as an MVP candidate. I thought I was going to be the one that cracked the code last year by touting him. It didn't work out, but I'm pulling for you this year. He's obviously an electric talent. Like I love the guy.
It's gonna be every year until the dude's in a wheelchair with that knee. Yeah. So,
one other quick thing I wanted to ask you about, like these speed guys, Bobby Witt would fall into this, and I think it's something with Carroll. Is that Underdog having different point totals for doubles and triples? Those are obviously tougher to project than just a pure like overall on base percentage. But is that something you guys look at all? Because Carroll's someone who would theoretically be able to stretch a lot of singles into doubles into triple, that sort of thing. It's not something that I personally have looked at. Again, I think it's tough to project, but it could be just like a little bit of a boost for some of these guys, and we never think about doubles and triples ordinarily for fantasy.
I don't look at the raw number per se, but I think like using like slugging and OPS as a way to get there, I think makes a lot of sense. And that's what kind of gravitates towards these like power guys, so to speak, or like these guys that can really slug, using like OPS plus or a WRC plus to get there. However you want to do that. I think it makes sense to go for these guys that lift the ball and barrel the ball a little bit more, which is why like I don't really gravitate towards like Benintendi as much, because he's more of like a slap hitter, even though he's in a lineup that if it stays healthy, he can score a ton of points with runs. But I do try to look for guys that lift the ball a little bit more.
Agreed. That's my Brandon Nimmo thesis, is that Brandon Nimmo is just Andrew
Yeah.
Benintendi with a bad price tag. Like it's just like I don't necessarily want that profile when I can look for pop guys because we weight those things so differently, so heavily. But I hadn't thought about it in the steals respect and like speed stretching, which that could be a very, very interesting point, interesting thing to dive into. Tuma, I know you had did you just message me in the private chat or did somebody
Yeah, you're on it. You're on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I knew you had a hard out and stuff like that. But let's do a little rapid fire off the end here. 5 years from now, Underdog baseball contests. What would you like to see apart from size, apart from whatever? What is it something that you'd like to see improvement wise, or from a game style that you would enjoy?
I'm glad we still got to this question because I did see it on the list of topics you sent me, and I just really love the question. I think in addition to growing the size of the contest and how much we're able to offer in prizes and all that sort of thing, I think what makes Underdog really cool and unique is the different types of games. So like for NFL, we have rookies and sophomores, and I personally love that format. Like I drafted so many of those of the employee versions, and it did make my brain come to could there be an MLB version of rookies and sophomores? Could there be an MLB version that's all pitching? It's like starting pitchers and relief pitchers, and we figure out a scoring. And then just playing around with I want to do second half leagues. We're drafting, and by the end of the All-Star break, it's only for the second half. So I think to me, success in the next few years looks like that, having different styles of tournaments and generating enough interest. And I think that this offseason is very key for that because we got the bullpen up for the first time ever this early. It's doing well so far. If it keeps doing well, we're going to have more leeway to be able to make new and interesting contests like that.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. I would love to see baseball fall in lockstep with NFL. I don't think maybe we could ever reach that, but it was America's pastime at one point in time. Let's bring that back. Let's bring that back, right? Let's get back to that level because we love baseball, right? We love baseball, and we want to engage and excite people around this. So I think right now for us, it's kind of let's attack this best ball community who are a bunch of sickos who just love best ball. And let's make them love baseball. That's what we're thinking, right? We're gonna force them to love baseball. So, because it's easy for us, right? So, but yeah, I think that's really good. And then I'd be remiss not to hit on when we close here, some potential player takes, some other players to illustrate, outline. I gave you 3 earlier. A player in a new situation who could thrive, a player who's made an adjustment who could thrive, and potential bounce back targets. Let's start with a player in a new situation.
Yeah, so I think someone mentioned Vinny Pasquantino earlier, and I've been comparing him a lot to this player. Now, Abreu's going a lot higher, but my answer is Jose Abreu with the Astros. Is just such a perfect landing spot for him, for a hitter who already fits this format well because he doesn't strike out a lot, and he just gets on base. He racks up hits and singles and doubles and all that sort of stuff. And to pair him
counting stack
with the Astros in that short left field, I think, and just the lineup is really interesting. He reminds me, I'm not saying he's going to have a Paul Goldschmidt type season, but Jose Abreu is not someone we talk about for Underdog a lot because he's just this middle round infielder. And we've spent this whole show talking about, outfield and pitching, and those are the buzzy positions. But still, there might be value to taking Jose Abreu and just having him, beat his raw projection total. That's what Paul Goldschmidt did last year, and he was one of the most important players to have. So I don't want to lose sight of players like that. And then what were the other two?
He could be everything they wanted Trey Mancini to be when they made that trade.
Yeah.
Crawford box in left. They fill the first base void. He racks up all the counting stats in the middle of that lineup. I like that shout a lot. Next one was a player who we think's made an adjustment this offseason or potentially getting better. And I noted when I sent it to you that everyone and their dog is on Newt Bar right now. Everyone's watching these drive line videos with his shirt off, smashing balls, and everybody wants to be on the forefront of Lars Nootbaar. Where do you want to go with this one?
I do love Lars Nootbaar as well. I won't steal him if everyone else is picking him. I chose Jeremy Pena for this. Again, like I'm going all infield with these questions, but because we don't talk about these players enough, just because again, all we say is infield so deep. But Jeremy Pena got off to a really hot start last year. He's never been the most patient hitter in the world, and he started chasing too much. And he had to simplify his swing mechanics. And in September, he started chasing less. And obviously, we saw what he did in the postseason. This is the rookie of the year who played for the world champions, who was ALCS and World Series MVP, and there's like no buzz about him.
Right.
He very quietly made those adjustments last year. I think you need to buy the hit tool a little bit, which is buying hit tools can be uncomfortable for a lot of analytically minded players. But I think Jeremy Pena, you just watch him play. He's I liked how he ended the season a lot. And again, he's on the Astros, and you cannot go wrong betting on Astros players right now.
Yeah, unless his name is John Singleton. That's a deep dive. I like that shout a lot. I mean, his ADP does not make a lot of sense to me right now. I think he's down in the 150s somewhere there. Here, I'll bring it up just because we're on the topic. Now he's pushed up a lot. 111 now. So, he was in that kind of like 130, 120 something range for a bit there. Last one, a bounce back target for you this season.
So again, like I said, I'm going to keep it in the infield now. I think the way we're going to see this offseason play out narrative wise is we had the, early round outfield. That was the initial story. I think we're about to go into a bit of a pitching heavy thing here. And then I think as we get closer and closer to March, it's going to be about, okay, we're taking infielders in the middle rounds. Which infielders are we taking? And it's going to be more about those micro player takes that are going to become really important. I like Trevor Story as a bounce back candidate this year. He's not the perfect player for this format necessarily. But I just buy a lot into the idea that he signed late after the lockout. His wife was pregnant. They had a baby. Then he got sick. Then he got hurt. He just never had a chance to fully get going. So it's just a straight, I think he's undervalued. He was going a lot earlier last year, and I don't think the skills have gone away. And I'm biased because I'm a Red Sox fan, but I do like
waiting for that one.
There's a little bit of merit too with Xander leaving town, that now he won't sit against certain righties as well. Like, we know he's a lefty killer, but there were definitely days throughout the season last year where it was kind of like, oh, we'll get I don't think they brought Kiki into the infield, but they'll get someone else to play second base that day and give him a day off kind of thing. But without JD there anymore, without Xander, I think it does open the path to 80 more at bats potentially, something like that. Maybe 80's high, 60.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And again, he's should hit high in the order in a good ballpark and a good lineup. Still a good lineup. I'd like to think.
Love it. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you. So there's a mystery anonymous screen name right now. Will not be mentioned right now, but in the Discord of us, who's telling us don't draft Trevor Story. There's something going on, and won't dox himself, won't out his source, won't anything, but is throwing some FUD Trevor Story's way in our Discord. So for you to come on here and be like, yo, Trevor Story's my guy, this is throwing wrinkles, layers and layers of game theory and conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat shit into our Discord right now. The people are going to be chiming about it.
It's totally baseless.
It's totally baseless.
Yeah, this is Charlie on Always Sunny right now with Pepe Silva. He's just we're going nuts right now with this Trevor Story news. Yeah,
that's so true.
I literally had no idea, but that's so funny.
It's just like a running joke now in our Discord.
Yeah, he just pops in and just says, "Don't draft Trevor Story." That's all he says. Yeah. And then someone just puts question mark, and then it just the whole thing unravels.
So ominous.
Yeah, it's so good. Okay, we'll let you bounce here. Appreciate you coming on. You are welcome anytime this off season in which we are doing these drafts. Love to have you back on. Love to talk more. We were just scratching the surface, just scratching the itch, because this contest, has only been live for a couple weeks now, only 20% full. So let's keep this dynamic going. Let's keep talking this through. You're a great guest. Great to be on here. Great dynamic. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. Like I said, like we got to do this more often, especially, during this prime best ball draft season. Then in season, there's going to be a lot to cover as well. You guys got, the baseball itch, the baseball passion, just like me. So
Yeah.
I think, this worked out really well, and I'm excited to keep talking with you guys.
Thanks
Love
for
it.
coming on,
Love it,
man.
Yeah.
Thank
Appreciate it so
you.
much.
Appreciate you.
Have a good one.
All right, let's keep rolling here, gents. I think the natural transition would go into baseball right now and just draft one. But like, let's push the boundaries here. Let's put what's up, Bria? Hi. Um, let's push the boundaries a little bit here. Let's put it in the chat. We said we would draft anything. Let's keep oh, here. I'm all over the place. Yeah, Brad telling me that it's actually 41% full.
Wow.
Appreciate that. Okay, in the chats, drop me a ball of any kind, drop me a stick. Don't drop me a golfer. Do not, no matter what. I don't think there's anything golf related in the lobbies right now. But let's do something live here. It will not be playoff best ball because we are doing playoff best ball with Pete this evening. So not playoff best ball. I think the logical direction to go is hoops, but we're open to anything right here. Let's go. What do we think?
I'm open for anything. I know there's hoops news I have to update for. So
I'm seeing bullpen. I'm seeing puck. I'm seeing PGA 3-man. I'm seeing basketball. Oh my God, puck. Dude, no, we had to puck. Come on, people, put some hoops in there. Put something in there that I have any basis of knowledge. Actually, we can pick.
So you could do puck.
Yeah, we could do puck.
You need to like get a poll system going, like have like a 2-minute thing and like open it up.
I do. Oh, more baseball. Beach
And softball.
Baseball or softball. I thought the reason we did it this way, and I didn't just be like, hey, we're going to do, football after, or we're going to do NBA and whatever, is because I thought people would want us to shift it out. But I think because the sickos that are here for the baseball are still the sickos that are here that want to do the baseball. Brad wants the baseball. Spags wants the baseball. Matt wants the we're just doing it. Near me. We're strap in, dude. Strap in. I think we just got to do it.
I'm not that much of a baseball guy, but I suppose.
I think we just got to do it. Oh my God. And it filled instantly. It's already, we just one more. Here we go.
Did we at least get the crowd? Okay, so we got Brad, we got Joka, we got Sheep, we got Paul, who's in the 11 and 12. We're in one of them.
We're in the 12.
All right.
Dunk's in here. Wow, that thing
was gonna get in there.
Everybody was just waiting, lurking. Holy smokes.
So did we have 11 or 12? Did I miss that wrong? 12.
We got the 12th pick. We got the 12th
right there, right in front of me.
I'll destroy that Paul with the right in PGA. Oh man. I promise at some point in time we will do PGA. I promise. It'll be great. I think I can name
I want to see John at a PGA event. Just 30 minutes. I was like 30 minutes in. He just goes, I'm gonna need about 12 more of these, otherwise we're gonna have to leave. That's John. 30 minutes in. He's like, yo, like 6 shot and all, but like, is this all we're doing? Like you think y'all got some cards here? You want to head back to the back room or something?
I like golf. I like playing golf. I don't love watching golf on TV. But I golf's a great game.
I like having it on in the background. Now that I've been home in the day a little bit more, I'll just toss it on and you'll just see. A lot of the golfers are younger-ish, so I kind of relate with them more and have like a thing where it's
we got Marcus Simeon going at the 2 spot here. Someone's buying that Rangers hype. Love it. He gets kicked out for saying 420 minutes in. No, I've been to Waste Management. They used to have one. My grandpa's a huge golf guy, but he loves to follow like the Canadian golfers, and like he updates me on the Canadian golfers every time I talk to him. And he's just like, he's 93 years old and he's just following the PGA Tour like leaderboard on his computer and stuff like this. It's legend. But he always complains about the coverage always going to like the big name guys and never being like, hey, Corey Connors is 2 shots off the lead and they're not showing him on CBS. Like, what's going on?
Yeah,
like,
because he's a good Canadian boy, right?
Yeah,
He's a good
exactly.
Canadian boy, Corey
So
Connors.
he loves to tell you like that.
You want to talk about pure ball striker? That's Corey Connors right there.
Damn straight.
Hey,
Yeah,
man,
so
peep
I'm
the
not,
102.
I'm not completely flying blind out here.
Whoa. What? That's like weird. But like it's not like so weird. Like that's the strangest 102. It's not like a joke pick where they went like Jack Sawinski 102. Like, why Marcus? I'm so intrigued and mind boggled.
You gotta take a Ranger there if you're trying to set up the full Ranger stack.
It's a good point.
You gotta take him there.
Yeah, because Nate Lowe's gonna go in the second, so you got to get there.
Skip the ground, just go straight batter.
When we were talking about the no, you're good. It's your show too. When we were talking about like the like quote unquote FUD around missing like outfield and that sort of thing, I think there's a lot of like middle tier guys that I like. I was kind of intrigued and excited that we might get a Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts start there. Kyle Tucker is a guy for me that I genuinely really like as like kind of like 35-20 with a little bit of average. Yeah.
I like him a lot.
And then I like Trey Turner. I think Trey Turner and Jose Ramirez, if this scoring system was slightly different, would both go inside the top 5 picks.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, so I really like Trey as well. I mean, what about you, bud?
Yeah, Trey for sure. I was gonna say I'd like to normally it's tough to stomach a 2 infielder start here when you can't get that, and if you're not going pitcher. And I'll say for me, I won't take him there, but Burns over Cole for me in terms of just number one ace.
Okay.
I kind of agree with Numi there. I think we might be splitting hairs, but I am Burns over Cole right now as well.
Interesting.
I'll still I think I autoed Cole in one. We were doing a pre-stream draft and I autoed so many. I took Kershaw and freaking someone else, Gilbert, which is fine. I'm fine with Gilbert. But like I took these guys and this other one, and that's how I get my exposure to these guys. And that's basically how I've gotten my Cole exposure is auto drafts on accident.
Interesting. Okay.
And
it's just cool to hear you guys say that because I didn't know that was necessarily a take.
For me, it's just like I think maybe I'm weighing it too much, but the park, I just think Cole. Well, I think Cole has the ability to give up more home runs, which is going to hurt him more. And it's just maybe it's my bias against Garrett Cole and just be a Yankee fan. It's just, but I also just I think. In this format, it gets splitting hairs. It's not really like I would 100%, but yeah, if they were like side by side in ADP, it would be them. But if it's even the gap, I would wait and take Burns kind of.
Yeah. Bringing it interesting just to look at here with when I was kind of talking about the Turner and Jose Ramirez. Now, obviously, NFBC has the positional scarcity stuff. Third base is crazy scarce. And the reason Trey Turner goes 1 is because he's a 5 category contributor or potentially goes 1 because batting average matters. Batting average does not really matter on this site. It matters in terms of collecting hits. It does not necessarily matter in terms of like keeping a balanced cat. Like, you can get hits from somewhere else. Right. And when you're not only scoring such a small number, I think one thing that goes overlooked in Underdog is we're only scoring such a small number that you're always going to have the hottest hitter from your lineup in your lineup each week. So something like average wouldn't even matter in that capacity because someone in your lineup is going to hit 400 that week, right? Like someone in your lineup is going to, So just an interesting little thing. But what I was speaking to is, granted, it's positional scarcity, different format, this and that, but like we're seeing Turner, Jose Ramirez, and Kyle Tucker going inside the top, and Bobby Witt going inside the top 8. A lot of smart people, smarter than me, have talked about Bobby Witt being an NFBC fade at ADP right now. Whatever that means, but just throwing it all out there, just cross-referencing, and it's imperfect to do so with hitters, but just putting it out there.
Yeah, that's a fun format over at NFBC. It's really hard to shift gears, but it is kind of fun to think about the way that when you have the positional scarcity, how that dramatically shifts ADP. It makes for fun fantasy. It's way more labor intensive to keep up with every day or every week, but it's still fun.
This is totally off topic. I don't know. I saw it because someone was posting like sports cards. Me and my buddies, we would go get like 5 packs of baseball cards, and we would just pop them.
Yeah.
And like for that week, we would form a lineup of the cards that we drew, and then we would tally up the stats from like the baseball cards, and we would use them.
That's so cool.
We did that for like a season before it got like just crazy, and it was just really into so many cards. But like we started with like a 5 pack, and the next thing you know, like every week we go get like 5 more packs of like the tops, and like then we decided like, oh, maybe we get like 5 packs and everyone gets like a special pack, and then like that's where you get a really good player. And it felt like you're playing like MLB The Show Diamond Dynasty before that was even a thing. And it was I don't know why, but that's a baseball thing I remember doing. Just anything and everything baseball back in the day, man.
I meant to ask
I still
Tuma
like cards.
because for sure. Yeah, so Adolis Garcia goes there. I would never take him over this player I'm about to take right now, who is my favorite pick at ADP, period, right now. I really like doing this here. I think they have 2 of the highest ceilings in baseball. I think they are also 2 of the quote-unquote most injury-prone, if that's a thing, players. Do you guys like this, or would you guys go in a different direction, take an anchor ace here? I was just noting that the way pitching has been going, there's only 4 off the board so far. I think I'm pretty comfortable waiting.
And I would go Buck.
Yeah,
I really like doing and I don't want to do it here. I like Buxton here, but I really like stacking Eloy and Robert.
Yep. I was just about to say the same thing.
Up. When you're not on the turn, it's easier, but
I'm big on the White Sox this year. I think that I mean they're still they have all the talent still around them. They don't have Tony La Russa. I think it's kind of like I'm not trying to compare it. It's maybe along the same lines of like you get that vibe and out of them. I think they liked them and all. It wasn't an Urban Meyer situation, but you get the dudes under new management. So hopefully that's like can just jump spark things. But yeah, I like the flop leg, as I keep calling it, for the White Sox. I think that's something I'm going to continue to draft.
Yeah, I mean, Correa coming to that. Correa coming. Oh, that's an interesting one. We'll talk about that after. But the Correa coming to that division does strengthen the Twins' chances for sure there. But I do really like them as like who we thought they were last year, and just re-entering that and buying the dip on all of these targets, including Tim Anderson and including. I would just say that. I think Andrew Vaughn is going overlooked right now. Mm-hmm. I think Andrew Vaughn getting potentially everyday at bats, playing first base most likely with Abreu being gone. They might mix in some left-handed Gavin Sheets as well. But I think on those days between the DH role without Abreu being there and with Eloy's ability to play the outfield a little bit, that I think they could find their way to everyday at bats. Just a name.
Yeah, Sheets is nice too because he has the outfield eligibility. So you can, I believe he does. He did last year at least. So he's somebody to mix in whenever you can find these these really undervalued.
I was more like Team Vaughn, but Sheets is a nice like pivot.
Oh, of course, Vaughn. Yeah. Just I guess just on the topic of like late round outfielders who aren't like really being taken. That have like floors that rival like 12th rounders, like Sheets is definitely one of them. And we do have to remember, like, we are playing a season-long game that turns into a 2-week tournament. So if we can sneak in these guys that maybe don't have high season-long floors, but the potential to put up monster numbers in sick lineups just for, like, 1 week. It's a 2-week playoff period, but it's broken up into 1 week. So you really just need to catch five. Like, that's why I have no problem taking catchers, because if I can mask their days off enough season long, take them into the playoffs, and, like, a catcher can put up a hell of a 1 week score. We've seen it. It's not improbable. So there's just so much value in different ways to build. I'm gonna, like, it's so hard not to just be doing this just all the time.
My top 5 infielders are catchers.
1 second, to me. Okay, hold on. I think I had a dream scenario, and Sheep's gonna ruin it right here with this pick right now. I had a dream scenario.
I know who you
want.
Of
this team. I had a dream scenario, and he just ruined it every time.
There's a guy that's a better pick.
Oh,
Spencer Strider will be, if not in the top 3. There he goes.
Yeah, I didn't think he was gonna make it back, but
I was hoping Spencer Strider all day for me. They're both. I'm taking them both. I love it when I have the turn, and they've both been available. They've crept up, so they have been available a little bit at that turn in early drafts, and yeah, it's a no brainer double click to start aces. Woodruff. I'm all over Woodruff. I love him too. It's just my guy. I love Spencer Strider.
I got a plan here.
Dude, if you want to talk about the top pitchers, Spencer Strider is second to Jacob deGrom in K to walk rate. Like, it's unbelievable. It came out as walks. It's unbelievable. And then, like, it's just he's him. So I know he has the yeah. That's my bro science analysis. Is he's him.
Yeah.
But 4 of my top 5.
Let's do the pick first. Yeah. And then let's do. I got a plan. Nope. I got a plan. And we shut it down at outfield.
I actually don't. I'm really, really, really souring on Stanton.
Oh.
I think you get Frammer and Bryant. That's me.
Okay, let's.
I love Bryant with the week 17 in cores.
I just wanted to do 5 outfielder and shut it down. Is what I wanted.
Okay. Well, let's put it to practice.
I wanted to see what it looks like. I think this team does probably look better with, like, an ace on it.
No, you can do it. Do it.
Well,
do Marte if you want.
Do you guys like Marte or Stanton?
I'm a Pirates guy, so I'm gonna say Marte, but
okay.
Both. What's your reasoning for souring on Stanton? Just the price?
Yeah, and I'm just not sure that he's, like, the player that, I don't know that, like, I really thought that he would have a super, super high ADP. And I'm wondering if his ceiling isn't necessarily what I think it is, even though we were just talking about this being, like a 1 week sprint, 2 1-week sprints in the playoffs. I don't know, man. I'm wondering if he's like losing a little bit.
Okay.
I just think the stadium and Giancarlo Stanton, the dude could hit a pop fly and it's a home run. Like,
that's a good point.
Playing in a little league park does help.
I mean, you look
especially
at
when you have opposite field power.
99th average exit velocity, 100th max exit velocity, hard hit rate 98th. I mean, we know the things that he's poor at.
Only 115 WRC plus for a guy that, like, finally, like, was healthy. Like, you can do better later.
Okay. Yeah, I could see merit in both arguments.
I get it.
It's gonna be a fun one to deep dive. The 2 things I want to hit on in the chat. Nate, no NBA today. NBA lost the vote. We're doing baseball, and we're gonna close with baseball. But NBA is a really interesting slate with Embiid, with Steph, with these potential Q tags coming back. Bam's already been ruled out. With these potential Q tags coming back, that you can eat some 2nd round value, maybe even some 3rd round value if they fall. I don't know if you had to assign a probability on those players playing today. I don't know what you guys would like to assign that at. I think maybe Steph is less than 40% to play. But if you can get third round Steph or late second round Steph, just something to throw out there.
I will say it's a nationally televised game, Warriors Suns. So I think they play. So fade me because I'm literally always wrong. It's every day. Save the receipts. I am always wrong. I think Embiid went through shoot around. That's encouraging. I think Steph and Ayton play. That's my takes on that. I think Butler's a smash first round pick.
Aiden is the second of that nationally televised back-to-back. Is it Suns in the second game?
Suns, Warriors, and then Heat and OKC.
Okay, cool. Yeah, very interesting there. We've talked up those narratives a little bit now, and
why make them questionable and bring them like on a nationally televised and have all this? It's just not to play them. The only thing is, do they get him a minutes limit? I don't. It's Steph. Like you could. I don't think he does. And if he doesn't play, eat it up because Jordan Poole's not being drafted. So you can just get free swaps, which you can do right after you draft.
Poole, I've seen been going like his ADP is a bit higher now. It's like 28 or something like that. So I've seen Poole getting drafted. So I don't think he'll be a swap anymore.
Is it now?
I think he's like, I think
22,
he pushed up.
I was wrong. Yeah. So
Poole's pushing up, but
in the ceiling, he's like 60th. That's what I thought he would be an easy swap. You're right. So he is not an easy swap. So I guess Draymond swaps it is.
Yeah, Draymond swaps would play. Okay, and then one other thing I want to woo-woo J-Train in here. This wasn't necessarily a pro Gavin Sheets argument. It was a pro Andrew Vaughn argument, and then just citing the fact that Sheets might be a platoon option at first base if he struggles as a left-handed hitter. That was more just to clarify.
And
there.
He is a platoon player, but they are deprived of left-handed batters as well. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a left-handed platoon bat. If you're going to be a platoon, might as well not be the short side.
Yeah, and you might as well be a guy who hits the ball really fucking hard.
That too. So, we're turning off the orange button.
Yeah, I'm turning off the orange button. I want to do this. I really want to do this. And this worked out kind of well because I really wanted like Glasnow as like an anchor here.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted like a Joe Musgrove type to counter that where it's like strong innings on a good team. You could twist my arm into the ceiling of like Hunter Green or Lodolo or something like that. I think Glasnow's is higher, and I think Glasnow has a chance to pitch way, way deeper than those two do. I don't think the Reds have any reason to overextend either of those starters.
That's a really good point.
I don't think they'll be in contention. I do think they both have immense strikeout potential ceilings. I don't think this is the year it comes to fruition. I think they wait on the next wave of Noelvi,
I believe.
Noelvi Marte.
Your former boy.
My former boy. The ball sounds different coming off his bat. And they wait on that kind of like next prospect wave. That's what I'm thinking in terms of how they allocate innings to those starters.
And those guys throw Hunter Green especially, throws so damn hard, just all that stress on his arm. Like I'm with you. I think that those guys are like limit candidates. And and we know the Rays like in their issues, but they're always competing. And Glasnow has like a really awesome ceiling for where he goes. And
I'm out on Glasnow.
Okay,
dude hasn't pitched 112 innings once.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And it's like that. The reason I say that is like he is not the guy that can go. He's the guy that gets shut down for innings or injury management or not going deep. Like if you give me Drew Rasmussen over him, if you want like the same at a cost difference. I know they're not the same pitcher, but as a guy that can put up probably similar, maybe like 200 points difference at that cost, like free versus that. I'm not going to have much class now.
Interesting.
He's risky. Yeah. He's certainly risky. I think, thankfully, for a build like what we're going for, we can probably do 8-9 pitchers.
You're right.
And help. If he does have, any breaks or any stints in the season, we can hopefully mask that. But yeah, no, it's very fair. Very fair. The dude has
160 innings for projection. It seems just a little rich for a guy.
Yeah, that does seem rich.
That's top
from a projection.
Topped 100 once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a totally fair point. One of my favorite picks going right there in Tyler O'Neill. Vlad, friend of the show, threw out a tweet yesterday about just hyping a spicy Tyler O'Neill outperforming Nolan Arenado this year.
Hey, I like Tyler. I was never off him. I was with you for that.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying you were. I'm just
you were. Yeah, you were. You called us nerds.
I'm like,
you threw us under the bus.
Like, we love Tyler.
I called you nerds. Look at this fucking shirt I'm wearing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's pot calling the kettle black, man.
Yeah, the context of that tweet was...
dudes, I got baseball stats on a T-shirt right now. Call you nerds.
Okay, I got you. Nez
here.
read that the same way I did. We were like, hey, we were both on team Tyler O'Neill. What are we talking about?
And I'm here for any take that is like a pseudo dig at Arenado underperforming. So I love it.
Okay.
I like Arenado's fall into like the 45s, 50s sometimes, and it's just like that seems like the easiest click in the world to me.
I'll leave it for you.
Fine. And I'll gladly take his points that he's gonna give me.
I think kind of with the plan of this. So the plan of this was elite high ceiling outfielders that are very like quote unquote sketch dicey, and then shutting it down and just being like, these are the guys you need. Then infield is anchored by Trey, but will probably end up with 7, right? And then the pitcher thing is like, let's shoot the moon, but because we have depth, we can save ourselves. Does that kind of like
exactly
that's the thesis of this team? Okay. So given that thesis of this team, I think there's a couple ways we can go here. I really like Crone in Coors stacked with Chris Bryant. Makes a lot of sense. Tuma just talked up Pena, who I
with
like.
Tucker.
Yeah, Pena with Tucker. We could do both, and then we could do pitching after and do the shoot the moon stuff. But there's like, where was the other name I was looking for?
I liked Snell. Damn.
Yeah, Snell was the name I was looking for. Oh, he went right in front of my face.
Oh, that was a fun pick.
Okay. Okay, that's what I was
good.
like, where did he go? I know Nestor is kind of like a little bit of a favorite of people. I know Dark Sheep was talking about Kershaw being elite. Sounded like Tuma felt similarly. I kind of like doing the double stack here and then figuring it out at pitcher.
Let's do it. I like that. I like doing mini stacks to get to maybe tack on a guy at the end that's available. You don't have to force it. It's just kind of like splitting hairs. But I like getting a nice little double stack on teammates like that. It seems like it's going to be helpful for me because a lot of my teams last year be like, oh, I have like 10% of that guy. Well, 8% of it is all tailored to all these guys that are irrelevant on that team now. Or just aren't doing anything. So I think mixing up your mini stacks and going like that and pairing them with different, so your combinatorial ownership is not all the same.
Yeah. You know how to say the words I like.
That's one thing last year that I fell into where it's like, oh, let's look at all of my Buxton. They almost all had Sano, and that's just. I mean, it was just, oh, he's free. He's the easiest thing. Watch him come back. And same thing for like all these other stacks. All my Boston had Bobby Dahlback. So it's like the same thing. Like just switch it up.
Where I wanted to go with the Colorado thing is we can port a little bit of this daily knowledge into these streets.
Yeah.
Colorado at Coors in a daily contest, even if it's a 10-game slate. And we noted earlier in the chat that they are going to be playing Toronto. Give me Hyun-Jin Ryu comes back halfway through this year, and he's pitching for Toronto, and you get all these righties with pop against him in September, and we're playing the daily contest. What are the ADPs of Chris Bryant, CJ Crone, and Brandon Rogers? Well, they're probably all going in the first 8 picks. Right, like you know what I mean. If we just
Ryan McMahon, Like,
Yeah. If Randall Grichuk, we start thinking through these scenarios. The thing about stacking Coors when we're playing for a 2-week window is just like so plus EV, and they're free right now. Brandon Rogers is free. Ryan McMahon's free. Randall Grichuk is free. Charlie Blackmon is pretty free. Yeah. I mean, and just talking about models of consistency associated with that. And then Connor Joe, another name that, did Joe move?
Joe's a pirate.
Yeah, Joe's. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think.
Jonathan
Daza.
He's the one that was like the left. Yeah, I couldn't remember which of those two was staying and going.
And they have a rookie. I think he's still a rookie, really young guy, infielder, Ezekiel Tovar.
Third base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tovar, I think, makes a lot of sense on teams because week 17, just porting that over, and we know that Coors is playing base. There's baseball being played at Coors during these weeks. You might as well get on it.
Yeah, fully agree. Just an interesting little thought with last year we kind of highlighted, and shout out to Siege. Siege highlighted a lot for me, illuminated me to the Baltimore stuff. And Baltimore was one of my biggest exposures in Santander, in Hayes, Mountcastle, and Trey Mancini, just based relative to where they were, that lineup being better than we thought. I'm not necessarily sure the Rockies lineup fits that mold, but the Rockies price tags right now for a contest that's going to come down to 2 weeks seem very, very stomachable, appetizing, like something like that. Like, to me. Yeah.
I mean, when they're playing the Ford
borderline
field
exciting
of the NFL or of the MLB, you gotta, right?
When you can say that again,
everyone knows. That's what everyone says.
Yeah, when you can get guys a team at the Ford Field of the MLB, you're like, you gotta.
You gotta. People are calling it Ford West. People are calling it Ford West. I love this. Little nugget here for the people hanging out. The BBM3 champion will be joining us next week. We're not sure which day yet. He's playing all the hits already. Like, he did the ship chasing thing. He got a shout out from Austin Eckler. He was doing ETR today. So he's making his way through the food chain, and somehow we're kind of in there. We're not near the top, but we're a little bit in there. So I think he's going to grace us with his presence, and we're going to ask him a bunch of questions that he hasn't already answered on 1,000 other podcasts. Like, how much would he have sold that team for on Sunday? Or how much, we'll do some fun shit like that, because we're different, right?
Yeah, that's what we do.
So if anybody in the Discord, in the chat, in the whatever, has questions for Karain, or wants to know more about the BBM3 stuff, about the roster, about that you haven't heard spoken elsewhere already, hit us up with a little share job there.
So the D-backs and the White Sox are in Coors week 1, round 1. Nobody's in Coors week 2, round 1, no one's in Coors. Starting the 3rd round, we have the Braves are in Coors.
Wow.
The Blue Jays, nobody for that next week. And then starting the final round, starting the 4th round, week 1 would be the Cubs and the Giants, and then nobody for the final is in Coors. So it's like a staggered weeks.
Only
basically.
1 week.
Only 1 week, and each week has Coors. That would be, again, if anyone wants me to name that off, the Braves round 1 or round 2, week 1, Blue Jays round 2, week 1, Cubs, Giants. Sorry, I think that one was
that was the finals.
Yeah, sorry. You guys can go first. I'll say it again after.
Okay, I think Tim Anderson is the easiest stack on planet Earth here with this falling ADP, and you just mix them with Luis Robert, and then you just talked up that Colorado plus White Sox plus whatever. We kind of have this crazy fun game stack for the first week of the playoffs. That sounds really intriguing to me now that you say that.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Let's bring that in there, and then
Benintendi's
I think
available, but we can go pitcher. I would.
yeah, let's go pitcher. I think
One
we
of
shut
those
down
three.
outfield.
Yeah.
You
No,
could
shut
twist
down
my
outfield
arm.
for sure. Yeah.
You could twist my arm on any of these. Currently, right now, I'm Jesus Luzardo over this bunch. I do get the merit in seeking the wins with Houston. I don't know if there's any correlation if you put the Houston with the Houston stuff.
I like Lance.
I like Lance.
Okay.
He's my second highest exposed pitcher, or my
Let's
highest.
do it. Let's do it.
It's
Yeah.
There's something weird going on in Miami. Like, why do they just sign Johnny Cueto? You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
like,
that
are they
was
going like
bizarre,
6-man
right?
rotation? Like, what's the deal?
Well, they
Mhm.
tweeted the rotation. Let me just say this playoff one more time for everyone. Round 2, week 1 is Diamondbacks, Rockies, it's Diamondbacks and White Sox. That's round 2, week 1. Nobody in round 2, week 2. Round 3, week 1 is Braves, Blue Jays.
Mhm.
Nobody for round 3, week 2. And the final week for the first week of the season, it's Cubs and Giants. So
Okay. Maybe we can, Numi, if you have that right in front of you right now, do you mind just putting that just in a little Excel, like just putting those, exactly what you just said in like a little Excel, and I'll screen grab it and we can save it forever and we can post it somewhere?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I think that's really noteworthy as
Definitely.
to, and I think there'd be some other ones to look at there that maybe we can do after.
Oh yeah, like
is
Great
like Great
Ballpark.
American. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Yeah,
Maybe the Blue Jays go back to what is it, Dunedin?
Yeah,
I
that
love
was
it.
where it was at, man.
Yeah, it was.
If Vlad never puts up something, it's always going to be like that was the Florida season. Like, you know what I mean? Like that wasn't
so true. And Toronto's not a bad place to hit, but
no.
it's not Dunedin.
It's really not.
Let's
really
see.
Not exactly.
Goodness. Wow. Well, the Blue Jays get Great American Ballpark in one of the rounds.
Wow, Blue Jays are looking fun now.
Nice.
So we have Blue Jays
Yeah, they are.
and this is very noteworthy because if you make the mental assumption, the Blue Jays would never be going to these places during these windows. Right? Like you would just be like, hey, we're thinking of AL East. We're thinking of whatever. Why the hell would they be at Great American? Why would they be at Coors? Why would they with interleague play that deep in the season? Whatever. Like this is very important knowledge. Yeah.
Nez. Final week, Great American Ballpark. Week 2, round 4, Twinkies,
no.
Pirates. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, that's the connection. That's the fusion.
Hey, your Mariners got a spot there too, as well, in September at home in Great American Ballpark. Everyone's getting a little taste.
Yeah, that's when the Reds are out of it, and they call up Marte and they go, "Hey, look, this is what you guys gave us." And Marte hits 3 bombs as a September call up. We all feel so much pain because Luis Castillo's on the IL. And
this screams last game of the season, September 24th. Nez needs O'Neal Cruz for all the money and just do 3 homers in Great American.
Hopefully, I can't even get O'Neal. Everybody's taking O'Neal before I can even get
so high. He's going so high.
Like,
that's I don't know. I don't know where I come out on O'Neal Cruz. Like he's obviously a freak in terms of like the exit velocity and his sprint speed for his size and all these sort of things. But like something about him still just scares me being a 6'7" shortstop. I don't know what it is, right?
Yeah, I know it's warranted. The risk is warranted. Obviously, like I'm incredibly bullish, but
I mean, not when he's the greatest player ever.
his ADP last year was just like the best. It was just like every draft just
you had to argue with people, be like, guys, he's literally a last round pick. That's all he's costing you, and everyone's like, no.
And he won me a bunch of money in his on his 2022 debut. I was all over him on that game against the Cubs. So that was good enough for me.
Oh man, I can't wait, man. Daly's like, which way's the wind blowing out in Wrigley? Oh, we got Great American Ballpark and Coors today. Unbelievable! It's all aces. This is gonna be. Oh man,
those slates.
If Joey Menendez and Jake McCarthy are the guys you need, I am not winning any fucking money this year.
I'm gonna be so poor.
Yeah, I don't know. Like their ADPs. I'm just looking through this board right now, and like I'm just kind of looking at names that jump out to me. Right or wrong, Max Muncy jumps out to me here. Willie Adames jumps out to me. CJ Crone jumps out to me. Ty France jumps out to me. Rendon, and they jump out to me like in a good way. Lars Nootbaar and Oscar Gonzalez jump out to me in positive ways. And then like the ones that I'm just kind of like I can't wrap my head around right now. For me, it's McCarthy, the Joey one. Like the fact that Tyler O'Neill and Jake McCarthy are 2 spots apart is insane to me. Like that's unfathomable to me. Like Tyler O'Neill is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like O'Neill a lot. Like it's got honestly like when like the flipping could come between O'Neill. Like it's gonna get the gap between O'Neill and Nootbaar is gonna just continue to close and close and close. It's gonna be an interesting one to watch. Yeah.
Okay, I think we need a pitcher here just based on like the way this roster has been going. I don't love necessarily betting on Sale, but if there's a team that's super high variance to bet on him here, it's not terrible. Give me another.
I don't mind it. I don't mind.
I think this is the team to take Chris Sale because we can mask him a little bit.
Exactly.
If he's up and down.
I like a low. So if we're looking at another pitcher, I like Luis Garcia. I like Montez. I like Miles. Oh, we're looking at okay.
Well, I mean, we could do either. Infield.
Yeah, we got a lot of infielders here. So
I think India, when the bat comes out, India is going to pop. He's an everyday player. He's going to get a ton of ABs. He has power, and he's in Great American Ballpark for half the season. I think he's somebody that is really going to shoot up once Cardi releases the bat.
Former Rookie of the Year. Yeah, I mean, like he just had a down year last year, and I think he keeps jumping to me. We've talked about him multiple times now doing these drafts. Like I just can't stop clicking his name for whatever reason.
Yeah. You want
right or wrong?
I'm confused about is.
Oh, hold on 1 second. Well, yeah, one more. Just like in this area right here, I see a lot of infielders that I can make a really bull case for. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I love it. I love this range. This is my favorite. This is where you start taking infield.
Like Jorge Polanco was way higher last year. Brandon Lowe was way higher, or is it Lowe? Yeah, Nathaniel Lowe, Brandon Lau. Right? One's one and one's the other. No. One of I think it's Brendan.
It's
Lau
Nathaniel Lowe
and Nathaniel Lowe, Brendan Lau. Because they're different.
I think that's right.
Yeah. I mean Suarez, like 35 home run, whatever. Ketel Marte, I love that. Rowdy Tellez, lefties in Milwaukee. Salvi Perez,
everyday player.
Javi Baez. Like it's such a great range to be drafting. We talked about Andrew Vaughn before. And Andrew Vaughn probably fit this team if we were paying a little more attention. Yeah, I was jumping all of it. Andrew Vaughn probably fits this team a little bit better as a 3-stack. But yeah, point, I mean,
these infielders here. This is where you can get. I've just been falling into my builds being outfield pitching, one infielder until we get to here, maybe a little before, and all of a sudden it's just you just start loading up on all of these guys because like they can give you in a 1 week sample. If you take 7 or 8 of those guys, it's a good bet. They're going to be putting up numbers. You know what I mean? Like that's like Wilson Contreras. Still, I just don't understand that ADP. I don't understand how he's not moving up. I don't understand Sean Murphy and Alejandro Kirk. Like the dudes they're popping, they're projecting. Totally get the catcher narrative, but like they're just instant clicks for me all the time here. It's unbelievable. And so that one name I wanted to mention was do you guys have any Dustin May?
A little bit.
Not yet for me.
That seems like that seems more egregious than Tyler Glass now. I don't even understand how to put that in. I mean, you want to talk about a dude that hasn't thrown over 60 innings once, and we're projecting him just to throw 125 and be a horse on that team? Like,
yeah, but he's young. He never had a roster spot before. He's finally healthy. He's dirt nasty. He throws hard as fuck. Like,
I get that.
You can paint the narratives for it for sure, but it is the Dodgers, and they're probably going to end up having 8, 9, 10 starters over the course of this year. Is 80 innings within his range of outcomes? Absolutely. Is 130 and has like that Julio Urias pop-up season, and then they ride him in the postseason, and then next year we look back and we're like, Dustin May is a 5th round pick next year or a 4th round pick. That's also within range of outcomes too. But yeah, I agree there isn't 180 inning ceiling there. And to Tuma's point earlier on the show, when we're seeking arms at the back end of these drafts, the big sexy rookie who throws hard. At least I'll say at least he's on a good team, right? Like that would be my big bull case for him. But yeah, I tend to agree that I'm not reaching as high as the field is reaching right now for Dustin May.
Yeah. There's obviously huge durability concerns, but I'm just like enamored when I watch him pitch. He's he's so fun to watch pitch. He just shoves high fastballs mixed with a really nice curveball. But they have a lot of depth in that rotation, and they have young arms they can bring up as well. So you can only imagine they're going to be careful with them.
For sure. I agree with that. Okay, we got 6 picks left. I think 4 of them have to be pitcher.
I could go for like an 8-7-5.
Yeah, I think it's an 8-7-5 team just based on how we loaded outfield early. Man, I really like these hitters.
I know.
You know,
yeah.
This team is so nasty.
It's so much fun.
Anchor infield might be like where it's at, to be honest. Like getting one stud infielder, just one.
I like that. Just one, and then you can weight it. Yeah, like
this is the equivalent of being like, yeah, your wide receivers are good, but I'm a little worried about your running backs.
Yeah,
like that's what this.
Your hitters are good.
Like,
I'm a little worried about your pitching.
Okay, Luis Garcia's still there. You can twist
Alex Cobb is someone that I enjoy quite a bit.
Yeah. What are you guys' thoughts on Gonsolin? Like Gonsolin, maybe. Okay, let's take Cobb as one of these. You like Cobb?
I do.
Okay, we could take Alex Cobb there. You know, veteran, 150 innings kind of guy.
Michaelis seems like a perfect pick to get wins and quality starts on a team.
Yeah, to balance out this rotation a little bit.
I'm gonna say Jeff McNeil. Now that Correa's not there, I think McNeil is a really, really good hitter.
And we got Marte.
A really solid Mets lineup.
Okay, all right, let's do it. Yeah, okay, I like it. Okay, you twisted my arm. Because like the profile of Michaelis, we can probably still get next round, but like the rise of McNeil and the fact that we can pair him with Starling Marte in this build makes a lot of sense to me. I think that was a good shout there. I mean,
there's a lot of pitchers we can get late.
Yeah, I think in a vacuum, I prefer Salvador Perez over Jeff McNeil, but you gave me a little spin zone narrative there, and that
with Correa gone.
Yeah, with the Correa gone. Like just getting new.
I was already in on him with Correa there, so yeah.
I've
been doing a lot of Mark Canha, Jeff McNeil back end mini stacks.
Yeah, I mean, just for the audio right now, we got a little Trey Turner, CJ Crone, Jeremy Pena, Tim Anderson, Jonathan India, Jeff McNeil, Kyle Tucker, Luis Robert, Byron Buxton, Chris Bryant, Starling Marte. Wow, those are some fun names to say all in a row. And this is where it gets a little dicey. We got Tyler Glasnow as our 90th pick, anchor ace. But we got Glasnow, we got Joe Musgrove, we got Lance McCullers, we got Chris Sale, we got Alex Cobb. I think maybe
nasty back in like 2019,
2018.
These dudes are freaking rocking and rolling. Let's go. I mean, they're still good. Don't get me wrong, but they're aces back then, baby. Let's go.
Oh my God.
Everyone has a guy in their fantasy baseball league that just clings on to the past and only drafts like old studs, like reaches for like Noah Syndergaard, like Jose Altuve 102, like in 2023, like that type of guy.
We do a 3 home leagues. One's an AL only. One is dynasty league, and then one is with guys that I grew up playing baseball over the years. And one of our coaches growing up is actually in the league with us as well. That's awesome. And one's a keeper league, and we call those guys Freddie guys because Freddie in our league is that guy. And like we always go like, yo, that's such a Freddie guy. And for years it was Albert Pujols, David Wright. It was Larry Fitzgerald in football. It was for years, man. And they're just Freddie guys to me now. Like that's such a spot on take that everybody in their home league has that guy.
Everybody. It's unreal.
Yeah. Like Adam Wainwright, what a Freddie guy.
Oh my God. It's like a brand.
Yeah.
I will say my dad was kind of like that in my home leagues, like but the last couple of years he's been listening like to what I've been saying and the stuff. And the Cooper Cup season, people someone drafted like Robert Woods like ahead. And literally, like a crazy league, I know. Like someone drafted Robert, and my dad just scoops up Cooper Cup and literally and sends me a text because we're not there. And he just goes, "This seems like a good value," and I was just like, "Yeah, that's pretty good." Fast forward to him destroying the league. I was like, "Yeah,
Oh yeah,
pretty good value there, Mr. Savant." Like,
that's what I want to be known as.
Yeah, you're the
That's
dad
an
in your kid's
interesting-
league, just taking names.
LED bringing up a little interesting narrative about Gunnar Henderson. We saw him emerge late last year, but he is still Rookie of the Year eligible. So might be gunning for that little narrative there. That we think that lineup is pretty good, and we think his playing time is more guaranteed than maybe even Corbin Carroll, I would argue. But yeah, just anything there to add?
I love that Baltimore lineup.
Me too.
They're just really, really solid.
Yeah, I love it too.
Yeah. And then Joka asking you, Numi, any thoughts on Ryan, Malley, and Gray, all twins or former twins?
Correa helps now our lineup, which helps the team be a little better, which makes me even more bullish on, which really shouldn't matter that much. But I enjoy. I mean, Joe Ryan he's definitely more pricey than the other two. I mean, Malley and Sonny Gray. What are we doing? Like, I'll take. They seem like just I mean, I love them. Guys of the track record that we know. If they're healthy and going out there, they're good. Well, I guess the Twins pitchers. So I should take that back. We don't know if they're going to get the full innings. We'd like to hope they do, but we know the Twins are with Rocco are the troll of having an elite outing and then going to the bullpen for no reason. So
yeah.
But still, I like him. Yeah, as he takes I like Molly. I like Gray.
I really like watching Molly pitch. He's a type of guy that with that sink splitter. I think he has. He just has a really nice repertoire.
Yeah,
the thing about
we have a lot of like 2s and 3s on our team. We don't really have an ace. Yeah. We have a lot of 2s and 3s in there.
Malley was a fantasy industry darling 2 years ago. Like he was everybody's like hype. Like, look at the spin rate, look at the secondary pitch, look at the fastball velos climbing back up. Like he was an Eno like pitching narrative guy. What was it, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago? And I mean, if he can get back to that 180 innings kind of threshold, why not?
Someone that's just, I mean, it's okay. We'll pick here.
Oh, that's what I wanted.
Rasmussen.
I like Rasmussen.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a nice hedge.
So I'm gonna throw out my names and I'll go real quick. I don't mind Flaherty in this build. Don't mind Gray. Don't mind Ranger. And I don't mind Yamon Marquez. I actually kind of like Yamon Marquez. So
yeah, Marquez is elite away from Coors. Okay, let's take Flaherty just because like we're shooting the moon.
I mean, look at his wins and quality starts. That's what you want from a guy in the 18th round.
Okay, sure. All right, twist my arm. Marquez is like a dude who's like always been like in roto leagues. 100%. It was like, he's elite away from Coors. The problem with taking Marquez in this build is we're painting the narrative that Coors bats are smashing, and now we have Marquez who might be on the other side of those games getting dotted as well.
We don't know how that's going to go. I mean, we don't know how that's going to go where they line up because like we said, you're only going to be at Coors at home for only. So like he does have to line up on that day.
No, I know. It's just we're threading a needle now. It was like we're juxtaposing our own thesis. We're like, our thesis was Coors bats are going to smash. And now we're like, Coors pitcher as well, maybe.
They can still smash.
Of course they can, Numi. Nobody's saying. I know. It's just like the overarching.
We're just calling out our own crutch.
I know. I'm just saying overall overarching, I don't think it matters at all.
I guess.
Like the same thing for like, I think people are talking about like when you take 2 Toronto players and you go, or you take 2 guys from a division, then you go take an ace from that same division. It's like, it doesn't matter.
We know.
Okay.
We know.
Well, like overarching,
Yeah, we're telling ourselves a story with the lineup, and then we made a pick that didn't tell the same story, but
Yeah.
it can still work. Yes,
Exactly. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
point.
That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
I just think we're threading the needle to say the story is now not working because we took a Colorado pitcher. If we took two,
I guess.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So how
Marquez
many
is gonna
pitchers
go
do we
out
wanna
there, he's
go
going
here
two
now?
shutout innings. He's going 2 shutout innings. Then he gets dotted in the third, but because we have a 9-run lead because of CJ Crow, we're gonna let him ride this a little bit. He ends up with 6 innings. He gets the quality start. He gets
Shocker, he
whatever.
doesn't pitch against the team that we have. That could be another thing.
Another one that Matt just brought up in the chat here is if we're searching out like Coors and Great American, are we also searching out the Oaklands, the San Frans? Yes, that's a great point to bring up. I think that's what we should do. We'll get a nice little Excel sheet with the formatting, and we'll put each of the matchups and rank it by park factor. I think that's something that we can do on our end that would be really sharp. I will just note that San Fran gets a bad rap. San Fran is getting a little better, but Oakland is still shit. Detroit is still shit. Yeah, that's one that I'll throw there. Yeah, Raise It Sane. You can definitely transpose that to NFL when I see my dad draft Melvin Gordon, Tom Brady, Adam Thielen, and Zeke. Yeah, where they just gravitate towards like the names that they know that have been there for a bit, and they're like, "Yeah, Tom Brady. Yeah, I mean, he must be good at fantasy. He wins Super Bowls, right?" Like, absolutely. Dad fantasy is the GOAT.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best form of logic there.
Yeah. We have 6 starters now. We have 7 starters now. So, Nez, you were asking, you think we do 1-1 to close here? Numi, you agree?
You could twist my arm depending on what's there, but yeah, I would think a pitcher and an infielder, and if you want to cap that 5 at 5.
Yeah. What do you think, Nez?
Who's our infielder? Who's our last infielder? Who did we finish off with so far?
McNeil, right?
I know we just said it,
McNeil.
but okay, with McNeil.
You could do 2 pitchers, but I mean, I've never done a 9.
9. Let's do the old 2022 Numi and go 9 pitchers.
God. Oh God,
let's do it.
I think
yeah,
I think this actually makes a lot of sense with the way that this team came out. You know, let's just shotgun it and just like let's find a few that hit, and we don't even have to do Pirates if we don't want to.
Yeah, no, we definitely don't want to. Now this would be an interesting conversation to be like, what profile of starting pitcher are we looking for right now? Because with this pitching staff being so thin in terms of like innings, in my opinion, this is a lot of high variance pitchers who, you know, they have ceilings, but they might not give us innings. You could be like, hey, this is a Taijuan Walker build where we need some good innings on a good contending team where there's no restrictions, opposed to being like, hey, let's take a shot at the ceiling of Reed Detmers and the pitch he added in the second half, or let's take a shot on Michael Kopech and that elite fastball. Like, you know what I mean? Like, me, my eyes go to like Erod or Tyler Anderson or Taijuan Walker in a build like this.
Is Erod still there?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't understand that ADP at all, man.
Me neither.
I think he's way undervalued right now. Like way undervalued. Really like Erod.
Eduardo's still there?
Yeah.
Where? What?
I don't think he's on the screen right now. I think he's even one more further down.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah. I love Erod. I think I mean
yeah,
it's the same. He was out for a half, if not 3/4 of the season with personal issues. So like it wasn't even an injury. Load me up on Erod. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I mean he was a big free agent signing, and he was like a middle of the road ADP guy last year. Like the
park upgrade in terms of him going from Fenway to Comerica. Like he was a guy that we could trust for that. And again, the only reason we didn't get it was because of personal reasons. Like we don't even know what it really was. So
True. Do you guys like Taiwan here, or do you prefer
do.
Tyler Anderson, or do you guys prefer?
I mean,
they're all the same bet.
Sonny
to me.
Gray's fun too. I know he's a twin, but I mean, it's not.
Yeah,
that,
Sonny
you know,
Gray is a
you don't
good
have
name
to do
too.
Sonny. Oh, he's got
Sonny
taken.
Gray's gone. Yeah.
All right,
Okay, let's
then.
take Taiwan Walker here. I do think Taiwan Walker, if they're making a playoff push, I think he could be like the third horse in that stable, even over Ranger, come late in the season for the Phillies.
Yeah, because
I think they signed him to bigger money than he ever should have got, but I think they are going to, they're going to lean on him.
Because Ranger's like that still kind of a pseudo. He's more into the starting pitcher role, but he was a pseudo like Christian Javier type that they've now still are making into a starter. That was his first full year as a starter last year, right?
And first full year as a starter. They transitioned him to the year before, like halfway through, where he went from like elite long relief guy, elite middle relief guy to like, hey, let's stretch this guy out. But the other thing is they don't have a ton of left-handed arms in that bullpen, which kind of scares me for him because we saw it in the postseason where they moved him back to the pen for a little bit there. Anyways, two questions I really want to harp on in the chat before we close this out. I'm going to bring up the draft board so everybody can follow along with what is closing. Let me know, is that on the screen, guys, or is it marred by the overlay?
It is marred by the overlay.
Just slightly.
Okay. Let me see.
Still kind of.
Do that. Let's see here. Is that better?
It's just like barely cutting off. Like it's cutting off Eduardo Rodriguez. That's it. it's not the biggest deal. And our
okay, we'll just leave it up there to close here. Okay, just getting a question is essentially this looking at dome games for the NFL. Like, do parks really matter for baseball? Yes, parks matter a lot in baseball because the difference between a football field and an MLB park is every football field is 100 yards. Every end zone is 10 yards on either side. It's all uniform. In baseball, these parks are so drastically different, and the way the ball plays in each park is so drastically different that there are legit reasonings to want to target certain fields. And that's why we'll keep talking about Coors. We'll keep talking about Great American Ballpark. When we start doing some of the daily contest stuff, you'll see how heavily we target those. And we'll be fading other environments like San Diego and Oakland and some of these parks where the ball doesn't carry as far. The walls are further back. The walls are higher. They don't have a humidifier for the baseball. All this nerd shit that we will talk about at length in different ways. For right now, just go ahead and look up park factors. Baseball Savant has stuff like that. And you can get like a pretty firm grasp on seeing like, whoa, way more home runs go out in Yankee Stadium than they go out in whatever, somewhere else that I previously named. And then Zachy G asking, what is the amount of max players you would draft on one team?
Good question.
For me, if that's I read it two different ways. I read it max from one team for me is 4. I don't really like to push the boundaries past 3. That's kind of been like my mindset. Last year, I think I made some big time mistakes with this in over correlating and over stacking. But I think kind of 3 to 4 from one team is a cap for me. And I think 8-ish total stacked hitters on a team is also kind of a cap for me. And then you guys kind of agree with that statement?
Yeah, I think 4 on one team is like I might go 5, but like I'm not actively like trying to stack 5 players from one team. But if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, I like that. And then if you were talking positional eligibility, because that's how I originally read it, because of like we were stacking pitchers there or whatever, I'm not going any more than 9 pitchers on a team, and I'm going no more than 8 outfielders or 8 infielders at each of those positional limits. So answer that question 2 different ways there. And the closing, when Pete stream, we will be doing NFL with him at 5 p.m. Pacific, which is 8 p.m. Eastern, which is whatever the fuck Central for these nerds in the middle here. So
fuck out of here. Everyone knows Central's elite.
I love to see it. I love to see it. Okay, if you guys are still, I haven't said any of my fun stuff. Like, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. Baseball's worksheet is below. Invaluable resource going forward. Tuma's Substack is linked below. Go subscribe to that. He posts stuff on there as well as on Underdog Network. So you want access to both of his information if you are diving into the MLB streets. We will be back with Pete later. Good luck to everybody drafting in the NBA streets. Like, follow, subscribe, Discord, anything from the boys.
Use code BADGE, baby.
Promo code BADGE for a match deposit of 100% up to 100 USD. For Numi, for Nez, for myself, the Badge Bros are out of here. Our favorite time of the show, or maybe your favorite time of the show. Sometimes I forget. The end. Peace.